alexandermenkov.com, where you can find me about this. And of course, you can ask me more questions, and you can book also a Calendly with me here. And this is all that I was willing to express. And I'm also going to be willing to speak more about you if you have some specific questions that you can ask. It is also possible. So if you have any questions, you would like to ask me something specific, or if you think that you don't quite understand, or maybe there are a lot of much more details that you would like to know, you can ask something if you want. Or if you think that this is something that is not interesting for you, it is still okay. And yeah, if you want, or if you feel that this is something that is understandable, or so, Wendy, what do you think? Do you have some questions?
Well,
do you know all these things? Of course, you've heard them.
Yeah, I think, in fact, I know that I have a lot to learn. You obviously have a huge, huge passion for this topic. And I come into this topic as a novice. A lot of what you spoke of, while on the surface made sense, underneath, when you really dig deep, it was way beyond my comprehension at this time. However, I find it fascinating, just the whole growth that I've had throughout my EMF journey, my EMT journey, other journeys through personal growth. They are topics I'd never even thought of, such as like the reality of what we really are. And I'm going to be a lifelong learner. There is absolutely no doubt about that. And people like you, who have a very definite path, a journey that you're going on, you know what you want, you know how you want it, and you know that you want to share your knowledge with the rest of the world. You fascinate me. And it's thanks to people like you that I am on a learning experience. And I just want to thank you so much for your presentation and the journey that you've gone on, and your willingness to share it with people like me, who are, let's just say, less than educated in the topic, but willing to learn and always have an open mind, because that's the way we have to be. So thank you so much. I really appreciate being able to be part of this and hear you speak.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, so you can say, yeah, and you can learn a lot, and it is something that I'm just constantly exploring. I mean, it's so much up there. So Hans, would you like to say something, or to?
Yes, I turned my video on. Well, I found it absolutely striking, and I agree with all what you say, and I think in very similar ways. Maybe it is because I'm trained in theology, trained in psychology, and so on and so on. But this is not the point I want to make. My question would be, well, you gave a hint, but my question would be, working with people who are very much earth to earth and very much in data, let's say like that, how to get it over to them that there is something beyond, or that there's something inside this inner world, outer world thing. Well, I'm working with chief information officers and transformation officers and digital transformation. And of course, they live in a world where these, let's say, aspects are not so much present, or not at all, or very little. It is exactly what you said. It is not of your business. It is the how, more than all these aspects. Let's say the transcendency aspect, and what is beyond, and what is inside, and how it corresponds. So that is my question, and maybe you have experience how to get it over to people like that. You said, well, before we started, that you assisted to a conference of pharmaceutical industry in, and maybe that's the field of implementation. Maybe you know how the dynamics are.
Yeah, I mean, in the pharmaceutical industry, everybody knows that the drug, when it's created, it's always compared towards placebo. You know, this placebo effect, which is the psychological part of the drug. Just if you're given placebo, at least 50% of the patients are receiving improving results. Of course, with much more drugs that are life savings, placebo is given only from some extent forward, and there are additional drugs that are doing the main job, but still people that are receiving the additional placebo are having better results in some of the controlled groups. So the psychological effect is always working. And the beautiful thing about reality, and all of us are capable in some areas, like, okay, some people are very strongly into data or into computers, and in some areas we are very strongly involved and we understand these areas. But the problem is that nobody is willing to open their personal Pandora boxes. And there are a lot of them all over and around us. And for me, before COVID, I was thinking that all these secret societies or the Freemasons or whatever, this type of knowledge or something that is esoteric, which is maybe something they do. We are not such type. We are normal people. We don't understand this, but more and more I'm exploring, I'm seeing that it is not possible any other way everything to work instead of coming from the invisible to the visible. Even with our intellect, of course, there is a lot of debates, and I listen to a lot of YouTube channels about where exactly is consciousness, how it's happening. Is it only a physical matter part of the brain? But even if we stay only on this realm of explanation, it is still very hard. And I first start using it with my children, because they go, all of us go into logic with mathematics when we are young. And I always told them that 1 + 1 is never a 2, because you can never find in nature 2 equal ones. Even in the pharmaceutical industry, where we are producing, let's say, batches of 30,000 packs or 1 million packs, it doesn't matter. Everything is serialized, so there is difference in time. There is difference in a lot of areas. So nothing is 100% equal to another. Then how can you sum 2 unequal things into having a sum? So then you go one assumption over. Okay, now we are done speaking about 1 3 + 1 plus 1 other 3 equals 2 3s. But we are going to create a concept, a new layer of understanding. And this is where now all the concepts, you cannot feel them, you cannot touch them, all the models that we are creating in our mind. And nobody can answer the question, who is observing everything? This ability of the human being to have a third person perspective upon the realities, it's a very strong thing. And even if consciousness, because there is it's very easy to say, okay, there is the soul, there is the spirit, and so on and so on, but nobody can show these invisible things. And the beautiful thing about, that's why I'm not strongly moving into spirituality and esoterical things, to the sense that we are disclaiming the physical materiality, because without it's a world of paradoxes. Without the physical materiality, we cannot explain the invisible, but without the invisible, we cannot experience the physical materiality. Exactly. So it is like the conscious subconscious thinking, and it's very easy to, when we speak with computer people, and when we speak about the matrix and each choice of an illusion and so on and so on. Actually, what we are doing during our conscious daily reality, we are 95% on automation mode, and actually our subconsciousness is doing the job for us.
Yeah.
And what we are doing then with our conscious mind during the period of the day, with our conscious mind, the only thing we can do is to put some programming into our subconsciousness. So during the day, we can influence the subconscious, and during the night, our consciousness is influencing the subconsciousness, and during the awake mode, our subconsciousness is influencing the consciousness. It is like what we see in the reflection of how the moon and the sun is more representation of the so-called conscious part of us, while the moon is the representation of the subconsciousness, because it's during the night and so on. So if somebody can explain why the human beings need to go through this cycle of sleep and awakeness, why we need to be in these two modes together, what is happening when we are in the subconscious mode, and from there all these things starts to become fascinated, to be interactive. And for me, the most important thing is actually to become more and more passionate about living our physical matter reality lives.
Yes, well, I agree, and I follow you 100%. And it is, well, up to the point that it is overwhelming. Of course, the fascination, is very narrow to, or very near to overwhelm. And that's when you try to visualize, or to imagine eternity. I mean, in Hebrew we have two notions of time, and that is corresponding to this also a paradox. Time is the time which is running, and we invented the seconds and minutes and so on, but this time material world. And there's olam. I mean, one is called eight, and olam is eternity, where wholeness is happening, so to say.
Yeah.
And so we are all just destined to wholeness.
Mm-hmm.
All. We come from wholeness, we go to wholeness. And the difficulty is, like you explained, we only experience a tiny bit of all that, and then we think we know all, and we can discover all, and of course it's pure illusion. Why I was so much interested in your program and in the title, The Construct Reality, because it is a construct. What we see is a construct. It is not reality. And you said it so correctly, to accept it as it is. for us to accept as it is, because we even don't perceive it as it is.
Yeah, that's true.
And there is like our friend said, well, I'm not experienced in this field. I mean, I forgot your name because I could not read it on my iPhone here, so it's so tiny, the name.
Alex. My name is Alex.
No, your name, yeah, but our friend
Wendy.
Wendy,
yes.
No, Alex, it's okay. Yeah, we get to this difficulty, like I said in the beginning, that when we work with people in the coaching business, people have not this understanding of reality or not reality, transcendency, the construct. They find it very out of whatsoever. How do you deal with this?
Yes, I mean, this is part of my frustrations that I like to work with, because a lot of people are working just on the surface. But me and Wendy, we were in this Elite Mentorship Forum programs with one guy called Peter Sage. I don't know if you have heard about him.
Peter Senge?
Peter Sage, S-A-G-E.
Sage. Yeah, I heard maybe. Yeah, you showed him on the YouTube. Yeah.
So at least for me, it inspired me because he strongly understands that everything happens from the inside out, and he's implementing it and using it daily in his own personal life, and this is how he lives it. And he has been before in the personal development industry, and even today when I look a lot in the personal development industry, I don't like, because every time it's only about the surface. It's only about, do you want me to help you with this issue? Do you want to follow my 5 recipes and so on? And
yes,
life is not about this. And how he constructed his program, it's a 12-module program. The first model is about ruling reality, actually. Of course, one of his big sayings is that nobody knows the truth. We are all the time trying to explore it and to understand more about it, which is very interesting, because this is how I'm moving forward more and more into exploration, because it is not possible to know the things as they are if we already think that we have the right perception. And then we study there a lot about focus, emotions, how to master different aspects, basically, of this quadrant number 1, the internal world, in order to influence the outer world. And of course, long term, I start to put more things above what he was explaining about, in order to understand everything, because I'm a business person. I need a lot of things to be 100% working in my personal business in order to be able to create more value. And I bought a house that cost me, house that I need to destroy, and it cost me 70,000 euro. And in this house, I found the capital of Karl Marx. And I said, if I paid 70,000 euro and I found this book, I'm going to start reading it to see what's in there. And what I found out is that in order he to understand what is actually the man and the capital of the person adding to the materials, then I found out, aha, so actually there is some honey. This is how I translated it for myself, that every human being is putting into the materials. Without the human capital, it is impossible the materials to be turned into something different. And of course, we can say different things about the people, but they were part of the change of our collective internal, this quadrant number 3. And till today, in the manifested reality, a lot of things are as they are, and now everybody knows how to honor the human capital because of its innovation. Actually, everything material is starting to appear as consumer goods.
Yes.
And it all started with somebody who just saw exploitations of human beings and wanted to understand that there should be something more, and this should be fairly priced into the end of the products. And that's why today we have products which the cost of good is not more than 2-3 euro, but because of patents, because of the human additional energy that is put, it costs so much. So yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Some 2 or 3 days ago, I thought about this because I studied the Marxian thing, and I said, well, no, he lived in a different world where the plus value was done by more than intellectual value, by physical value, by workforce and so on. The beginning of the industrial age. And now more and more things get immaterialized, and this intellectual value is getting more important than the other one. And automation is going on and so on, things he could not imagine. So I was exactly thinking about this, and this, which is the factor, what is the factor of putting value to things, so that what is ruling our world now, I mean, there's power, there is resources, and there's time, something like that. These are for me the three fundamental values which are added, or which are, well, ruling. I mean, I found it interesting that you said ruling the reality. I mean, as a theologian, I would say it is after paradise. You know, the two persons had been expulsed in this tale of paradise in order to rule reality, in order to rule the world, this ideology of subject the world, which led to the catastrophe we are living now, of ambiental catastrophes and so on, because it was a wrong understanding of ruling.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I'm a Christian from 17-year-old, and I understand a lot about these two things, which are very interesting: the mythos and the logos. One part of going into the logical conclusions and so on, and staying in the physical matter part, but the mythos is explaining a lot of the models, and of course we can have personal beliefs and so on, but we are to be able to deconstruct them, to depersonalize them to some extent. And of course, long term, we can still believe in personalities and so on, but we need to also put them into a plane that, I mean, from 17-year-old, I was a believer, but only maybe 3 weeks ago, I realized why we, the human beings, cannot exist without the existence of a creator. For so many years, I knew these things, that it is working, but I didn't understand why it's not possible to be other way. And it happened only after I tried for first time LSD, because one guy wanted me to help him in his spiritual experience, and he just asked me to try it. I said, well, I'm 100% sure what I'm going to experience. It is not going to be something that I don't understand and so on. But what I found out is such a big delusion of the mind, because I knew that I imported into my body something that is not the real thing. For the first time, I found out how delusionally solid the illusion is. And my ego was so strongly leashed out that I was able to be I could consume the whole world in 1 second. Everything was me. There is nobody else in this reality but me.
I see. I see.
And I was so afraid. And I realized for first time why we need a higher power to subdue this potential of a limitless ego to consume everything. And that's why I'm speaking about actually that we are subduing the ego by allowing space for others to exist, because this is how actually existence happened.
Very good.
Somebody allowed something else to exist.
Yes, that's a very good phrase. I like this phrase. Someone beyond allowed that something else exists. And it's creation. Yeah. I love this phrase. Yeah, absolutely. Oh,
yeah.
Wow. So you went on a journey of getting out of yourself, and then it's another way of, what you said in your presentation, to get out of what you experience. I mean, the third position. I was teaching conflict resolution and negotiation, and I'm still teaching this. And I always say, in order to, you have a pocket tool. You have a pocket tool when you are in a difficult situation, when you are in a meeting, when there is some very strident, very tough situation, and you are triggered, to explode, to be angry, or to aggress, or to whatever, or to give in on, and so on, and to disappear literally from the table. And then you put yourself like above, like fly on the wall, and you look at yourself. And this is only what people or humans can do. Apparently, maybe others also, but we don't know this, but we can do it. And this is what you experienced. I mean, you went into the other space and out of the body. And wow, what an experience.
Yeah, and I mean, for the first time, I never knew that actually the invisible is much more solid than the visible. But it is normal, because solid, what means? Solid means still, constant, not changing. And everything in the physical materiality is constantly floating and changing and moving. And we say, no, this is the real thing.
This is the real thing. I can touch it. It's solid. No, it is not. It is vibrant. We only don't realize it.
Yeah.
And what did you say, that the immaterial is more solid? Something like that? That's what you experience. Oh.
Yeah. And it should be logical to be so. But I mean, the problem with how I started with paradoxes. I said, well, all the world is constructed. I mean, all the constructs in this reality are made in paradoxes. And this life that we are experiencing, we experience it between these two paradoxes. Okay, existence. I mean, from the moment we are born, we realize after 2, 3, 4 years that we are going to die. And still we are existing, you see? And then, of course, long term, we know our destination, and still we want to transcend this into something more. And in this way, we're extracting something different from ourselves, and this is made by a design.
Yes.
So we are such a beings that we can never be afraid of end of something, of non-possibility, of hopelessness. We can always find a hope or solution, or
yes,
so
there's always a step further, which is we call it hope. Well, there's one phrase. I love this phrase because it's so true. Hope is certainty about things which you cannot see. And so the hope you just mentioned is, well, it will go on, will go on, will go on. But the real hope, which gives you force and power, is the hope, or is this, I don't know, this attitude of knowing that there's something which you cannot see, but it is more real than the table you're sitting at.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Wendy, would you like to say something? Because otherwise we may speak all the time.
I am thoroughly enjoying listening to the two of you speak. It is very enlightening. Yeah, I am of the total knowledge that nothing is forever. Everything changes. We're in a constant world where states of matter change, looking at either water, ice, wood decaying, everything changes. And that the opposite of life is not death. The opposite of death is birth. And we're just somewhere in between. We were all born, we are not dead yet, and we just have to do the best with what we have and always learn. Like always, we were meant to learn, to grow. We were not meant to stay in a bubble. And I want to experience absolutely everything that I possibly can, because otherwise I just feel like I'm stagnating. And I said to one of my buddies the other day, also an EMT, and I said, I've never been to Europe. And they went, what? Like, how? And I'm like, no, I stay in North America. It's like North America is my little comfort zone. And you don't grow within your comfort zone, which means I will be traveling to Europe in the near future, just so that I can experience something other than the North American culture, which is very new and very, well, I find some of it very certain that they are right. And I don't have that mindset. I want to experience everything. So yeah, for me, getting out of North America for a little while is part of my growth journey. But listen to the two of you talk. I love you both.
Thank you. Well, that's a great perspective, Andy. I mean, well, I'm here in Germany, and I travel quite a lot, and it is so, let's say, of course, it makes you richer. It makes you understand quite a lot of things and accept, like we said, accept as it is, accept a lot of things, know yourself better, what you like, what you don't like, what you could like, make steps, baby steps or big steps towards things you never did before, or you never felt, or you never saw. Yeah, that is adventure. We are here for adventure, I think. Great plan.
Okay. So if you want, I can finish here. And of course, we know each other's LinkedIn profiles, and we can continue chat and follow each other's, and can continue moving forward. Anyhow, I mean, mastering or ruling our reality is a constant journey. It's not so easy to do it.
No.
But for sure, it's very interesting. And one of the interesting things that it is for me and why I like a lot to use the reality is because that it is not impossible. There is another paradox. If we want to know ourselves, we think that we need to strongly involve all our imagination and all our focus towards our insight. But actually, it is 100% the opposite. Through our expressions in reality, we understand who we are. And that's why now when I'm making different decisions in reality and so on, sometimes I want something from my insight, from my intuition, and then my mind is trying to fake it a little bit. And I say, no. I want to see what my authenticity is expressing out there in order to understand who I'm actually are, and not just to think that I'm something that I'm still not. And that's why I like a lot to observe myself from this third person perspective and to know more about myself through the way I'm behaving in the actual reality, not just to sit or to meditate and to think that I'm something very strongly beautiful and so on, because of course inside of us all are limitless beings, but the important thing is how much we alone are allowing ourselves to express in the outer reality, and why, which is also very funny.
That is a great sentence, not only to to end, but to start. Yeah, great.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Alexander.
Yeah.
It was a great moment, and yeah.
Thank you.
It confirmed many things I am thinking for the last weeks.
Okay, we can continue discussions and off topic and chat with each other. Okay.
Great.
Thank you, Wendy, for
Thank you, Wendy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good luck.
Bye, my new friends.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.